He shielded the alien child with his life. Now her mother demands him the space station K. Haven floated between two star lanes like a tired lighthouse. It was old, patched with metal plates of many colors, and always busy. Traders, refugees, diplomats, and workers moved through its halls every day. Humans were common here, so were many alien species. Most people kept to themselves and followed one simple rule: survive first. Elias Ward did not come to the station to be brave. He was a human logistics worker, thin, quiet, and already tired of space life. His job was simple: unload medical crates, scan them, and send them to refugee sectors. He had no weapon. He had no rank. He was just another human doing a job that paid enough to keep moving. That day felt normal at first. The corridor lights flickered once, then twice. Elias paused, his hand resting on a crate scanner. Around him, voices grew uneasy. Someone laughed nervously, someone else cursed. Power problems were common on K-17. Then the alarm screamed. Not the soft warning tone, not the drill signal. This was sharp, loud, and filled with panic. Red lights flooded the corridor. The station's voice system spoke in broken fragments. Security breach. Unidentified hostile force. Seek shelter. People ran. Elias turned as bodies rushed past him. Aliens of many shapes pushed, stumbled, and shouted in languages he did not understand. A heavy impact shook the floor. The lights dimmed again. Somewhere far away, metal tore like paper. He should have run, he knew that. Everyone did. Raiders did not board neutral stations without reason, and when they did, civilians died first. Elias grabbed his bag and started toward the nearest shelter sign. That was when he heard the sound. It was not loud. It was small. A sharp, broken cry full of fear. He stopped. The sound came from a side corridor, one that led to maintenance storage. Almost no one used it. People were running away from that direction, not toward it. Elias hesitated. Another explosion shook the station. The cry came again, closer now, desperate. Against every survival instinct he had, Elias turned and ran toward the sound. The corridor was narrow and poorly lit. Smoke drifted from a cracked panel. At the far end, something small moved. It was a child. She was not human. She had soft blue skin, large dark eyes, and small hands shaking as she tried to crawl backward. Her clothing was torn and one foot was bare. She looked no older than 6 by human standards. Her species markings glowed faintly along her neck, flickering with stress. She stared at Elias like he was another monster. He raised both hands slowly. "It's okay," he said, his voice low and calm, even though his heart was pounding hard. "I'm not going to hurt you." She did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. A loud crash echoed nearby. Heavy footsteps followed, not running footsteps, armored ones. Elias looked over his shoulder. 3 figures entered the main corridor behind him, tall, wide, covered in dark combat plating. Their weapons glowed with contained energy. Raiders. They had not seen the child yet. Elias did not think. He moved. He stepped between the child and the corridor. The child let out a soft sound of confusion. Elias spread his arms, placing himself fully in front of her. His back faced the raiders. His body shook, but he did not move away. One of the raiders noticed him. The alien tilted its helmeted head. Its voice crackled through a translator. "Human," it said. "Move." Elias swallowed. His mouth was dry. "There's a child," he said. "She's not part of this." The raider raised its weapon slightly. "Move," it repeated. Elias shook his head. "No," the second raider laughed, a harsh metallic sound. "Human weakness," it said. The third one aimed directly at Elias' back. Time slowed. Elias thought of nothing heroic. He did not think of honor or legacy or sacrifice. He thought only that if he moved, the shot would hit the small body behind him. So he stayed. The weapon fired. Pain exploded across his back. The force threw him forward, but he twisted as he fell, turning his body sideways so he would not crush the child. He hit the floor hard. His vision blurred. Something warm spread beneath him. The child screamed. Another blast hit the wall above them. Debris rained down. Elias rolled, dragging himself closer to the child, using his body as a shield. He curled around her, pulling her into his chest, his arms shaking as he tried to protect her from everything: shots, fire, falling metal. He felt another hit, then another. His world narrowed to sound and pressure and fading light. Somewhere far away, station security arrived. Energy weapons flashed. Shouts echoed. The raiders retreated, dragging one of their wounded with them. Elias did not see any of it. He only felt small hands clutching his shirt. He heard a voice, not spoken aloud but vibrating through him, filled with fear and confusion. Then darkness took him. When Elias woke, the first thing he noticed was the silence. The second was the pain. His body felt heavy, wrapped in something warm and firm. He tried to move and failed. A soft beeping sound filled the air. He opened his eyes slowly. White light, smooth walls, a medical bay. He turned his head with effort. Sitting beside the bed was the child. She was clean now, wrapped in a soft blanket. Her eyes were wide, watching him carefully. When she saw his eyes open, she made a small sound of surprise. She stood quickly and pressed a hand to his arm. "Stay," she said in broken trade language. Elias smiled weakly. "I wasn't planning on going anywhere," he whispered. Her eyes filled with something like relief. Doctors entered moments later, human and alien together. They moved quickly, checking screens and speaking in urgent tones. Elias drifted in and out, catching only fragments. Should not have survived. Impact absorbed by body angle. Unbelievable. What Elias did not see were the cameras. Station security footage had captured everything. His turn into the corridor, his stance in front of the child, his refusal to move. The moment his body took the shots, the footage spread fast, across the station, across trade networks, across worlds, and far beyond K-17 Haven, in a place of towering spires and living crystal walls, a powerful alien woman watched the recording in complete silence. She watched the human shield her daughter. She watched him fall. She watched her child cling to him. Her hands tightened slowly. For the first time in her long rule, she felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Not anger, not fear, a demand. And somewhere in a quiet medical bay, Elias Ward slept, unaware that his simple choice had just changed how the galaxy would see humanity forever. Elias Ward did not wake up famous. He woke up confused. The medical bay lights were softer now, dimmed to a calm white glow. Machines hummed quietly around him. His body still hurt, but the sharp pain had faded into a deep ache, like he had been crushed and put back together the wrong way. He tried to move his fingers. They responded slowly. "That's good," a voice said. Elias turned his head. A human doctor stood near the bed, holding a data pad. Her face showed relief mixed with disbelief. "You've been unconscious for 2 days," she said. "Do you know where you are?" "Medical bay," Elias replied weakly. "K-17, she smiled. "Good, memory is fine." He swallowed. "The child," the doctor paused, then she nodded. "She's safe." Elias let out a long breath he did not realize he was holding. "She hasn't left," the doctor added. "Security tried, diplomats tried, she refused." As if summoned by the words, small footsteps sounded near the bed. The alien child stepped into view. She was dressed in clean, soft clothing, now pale silver with gentle patterns woven into it. A small crest marked her chest, something official, something important. Her blue skin looked brighter, healthier, but her eyes were fixed only on Elias. She climbed onto the chair beside his bed and reached out, gently touching his hand. "You stayed," she said quietly, her trade language better now. Elias smiled faintly. "So did you." She nodded seriously, as if this mattered greatly. Outside the medical bay, the station was not calm. Security forces filled the corridors. Diplomatic ships docked one after another. Communication towers burned with non-stop signals. Everyone wanted answers, because the child Elias saved was not just any child. Her name was Lyra, and she was the daughter of High Matriarch Saelvora. Saelvora ruled a powerful alien alliance known for its fleets, its strict laws, and its belief in strength above all else. Her people respected order, rank, and survival logic. They did not believe in waste. They did not believe in meaningless sacrifice, and they especially did not believe in humans. To them, humans were fragile, emotional, and unpredictable, useful sometimes, dangerous often. When the footage reached Saelvora, her court expected rage. They expected threats. They expected war demands. Instead, the matriarch watched in silence. The recording played again and again. She saw the human turn toward danger instead of away from it. She saw him stand unarmed before armed warriors. She saw him refuse to move even when ordered. She saw his body take the shots meant for her child. Her advisors spoke carefully. This could be deception, one said, a calculated act. No, Saelvora replied. He had no time to calculate. Another advisor spoke. Perhaps instinct. Saelvora's eyes remained on the screen. Instinct tells one to flee. The room fell quiet. Bring him to me, she said at last. The words sent a shock through the court. Alive, she added, untouched. Across the station, Elias felt the change before he understood it. The guards outside his room doubled, then tripled. Strange alien officials began appearing, studying him through the glass. Some looked curious, some looked hostile, some looked afraid. Elias hated attention. He hated it even more when Lyra noticed. They are loud, she said one day, pressing her hands over her ears as raised voices echoed in the hall. They'll leave soon, Elias said gently. She shook her head. Mother is coming. The words hit him harder than any weapon. Your mother, he asked. Lyra nodded. She is angry, Elias swallowed. At me, she frowned. I do not know, he tried to joke. I get that a lot. She did not smile. 2 days later, the matriarch's ship arrived. It blocked half the station's viewports. Massive, elegant, and terrifying, it dwarfed everything around it. Its arrival silenced even the most stubborn rumors. A delegation entered K Haven under strict security. Alien guards lined the corridors, their armor marked with symbols of command. Station officials bowed or stepped aside. Elias was told to prepare for transport. I'm not even cleared for travel, he protested weakly. A security officer looked at him with something close to awe. You're cleared. Lyra stood beside him as medical staff disconnected his monitors. She goes where I go, she said firmly. No one argued. They were escorted through corridors that felt too small for the moment. Elias leaned heavily on a support frame, his body still weak. Lyra stayed close, her hand gripping his sleeve. The matriarch's ship was quiet inside. Not empty, controlled. They were brought into a vast chamber filled with light filtered through crystal walls. At the far end stood Saelvora. She was tall, graceful, and terrifying in her calm. Her eyes were sharp, ancient, and fixed directly on Elias. Lyra let go of Elias and ran forward. Mother! Saelvora knelt immediately, opening her arms. The court gasped softly. She held her daughter tightly, her composure cracking for just a moment. Then she stood and faced Elias. You are the human, she said. Elias straightened as best he could. Yes. You were ordered to move. Yes. You did not. No. Why? The chamber was silent. Dozens of powerful beings watched him. Elias thought carefully. She was alone, he said, and scared. That was all. A ripple moved through the court. Saelvora studied him. You expected no reward. No, you expected death. Yes. Yet you stayed. Yes. She walked closer, her presence heavy. Your species is known for fear. Elias met her gaze. So is yours. Gasps filled the room. Lyra stepped between them, holding Elias' hand. He is good, she said simply. Saelvora looked down at her daughter, then back at Elias. For the first time in centuries, the matriarch felt uncertainty. This human had broken every rule her people believed in, and she knew, without fully understanding why, that the galaxy would not forget it. Nor would she. As the doors of the chamber closed, one truth became clear to all who witnessed it. The human was no longer just a survivor. He was a question. And questions, Salvor knew, were far more dangerous than enemies. The Chamber of Judgment was older than most human cities. Its walls were grown, not built, shaped from living crystal that slowly shifted color with the thoughts of those inside. High above, symbols of ancient victories floated like frozen light. This was where Salvor's people decided the fate of worlds. Elia's ward stood at the center of it. He felt very small. He wore simple station clothes, not armor, not formal wear. His injuries were still healing, though advanced medical care had closed the worst of them. Even so, standing too long made his back ache and his legs felt weak. Around him stood the court, generals, elders, scholars, beings who had commanded fleets, ended wars, and judged entire species. At the highest tier sat High Matriarch Salvora. Beside Elia stood Lyra. She refused to leave him. Her small hand held his fingers tightly, as if she feared the room itself might take him away. The trial began without ceremony. Human Elia's ward, a tall elder said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "You stand before this court without accusation, yet under judgment." Elias nodded slowly. "I understand. You acted without obligation," the elder continued. "You interfered in a conflict not your own. Yes, you shielded a child of this alliance with your body. Yes. Explain." Many eyes fixed on him. Elias felt his throat tighten. He searched for words that would not make things worse, words that would not sound foolish in a place like this. "She was afraid," he said at last. "I could hear it in her voice." Murmurs rippled through the court. "That is not reason," another judge said sharply. "Fear is common." Elias looked up. "So is fire, but you still pull people out of burning buildings." The judge frowned. "You compare survival to emotion." "No," Elias said. "I compare survival to responsibility." The room fell quiet. Salvora leaned forward slightly. "Responsibility to whom?" she asked. Elias answered without hesitation. "To those who can't protect themselves." A wave of unease moved through the elders. One general stepped forward. "This thinking is dangerous. It weakens hierarchy." Elias shook his head. "It strengthens trust." Another voice cut in. "Humans are known to form bonds too easily. This was likely emotional error." Lyra squeezed Elias' hand harder. "He is not wrong," she said suddenly. The court froze. Children were not allowed to speak here. Salvora raised a hand, stopping all protest. "Speak," the matriarch said gently. Lyra stepped forward, her voice small but steady. "When I was alone," she said, "everyone ran, even guards. They were not bad, they were scared." She looked up at Elias. He stayed. Her words echoed louder than any shout. An elder shifted uncomfortably. "Child attachment can distort memory." Lyra shook her head. "I remember clearly." She turned to her mother. "He was afraid too." Salvora's eyes sharpened. "How do you know?" Lyra looked back at Elias. His heart was loud. Silence followed. Salvora stood. When she moved, the entire court straightened. "You claim fear," the matriarch said, her voice calm but commanding. "Yet you did not flee." Elias nodded. "Fear doesn't always mean running." "What does it mean, then?" "It means knowing something matters more." The matriarch studied him closely. "Your people teach this." Elias thought of Earth, of stories, of parents, of strangers who helped without reason. "Sometimes," he said, "sometimes we forget, but we remember when it counts." The court began to argue. Voices rose, opinions clashed. Some called Elias a hero, others called him a risk. A few whispered that humans might be dangerous not because of their strength, but because of their values. Salvora raised her hand again. Silence returned. "There is another matter," she said. "This human's act has already spread across the galaxy." Screens activated around the chamber. Footage played Elias standing in the corridor, arms wide. Elias falling. Elias shielding Lyra with his body. Messages followed. Alien worlds questioning their own laws. Human colonies standing taller. smaller species sending signals of hope. You have changed perception, Saelvora said to Elias. Without intent, Elias frowned. I didn't mean to. I know, she replied. That is what troubles us. An elder spoke carefully. If humans believe such acts will be rewarded, they may repeat them. Elias looked up sharply. I didn't do it for reward. Saelvora nodded slowly. Exactly. She stepped down from her platform and walked until she stood only a few steps from him. Tell me, human, she said, if you could return to that moment knowing all this, would you still stand there? Elias did not hesitate. Yes. The answer rang through the chamber. Lyra smiled. Saelvora searched his face for deception and found none. For the first time in her long life, she felt something shift inside her beliefs. This human was not strong because he was fearless. He was strong because he chose others over himself. The trial ended not with a verdict, but with a pause. Elias was not condemned. He was not freed. He was declared something new. Until further decision, Saelvora announced, the human Elias Ward will remain under my protection. Gasps filled the chamber. Protection from the matriarch was rare, but the greater shock came next. He will also serve as my guest, she continued, and my advisor on one matter. The elders stared. What matter? One asked. Saelvora looked at Elias. Human values. Elias blinked. I'm not qualified. She allowed a small, rare smile. That is why you are. As guards escorted them out, Lyra stayed close to him, her steps light. You were brave, she said. Elias shook his head. I was scared. She nodded thoughtfully. That makes it better. Outside the chamber, across the stars, the story continued to spread, not of a warrior, not of a conqueror, but of a human who stood still and made the galaxy move. The stars outside the matriarch's world were calm. Inside the palace, nothing was. Elias Ward had never lived in a place like this. The halls were wide and quiet, made of living crystal that glowed softly under his feet. The air was warm and clean. Servants moved without sound. Guards stood like statues, watching everything. And yet, Elias felt more nervous here than he ever had on K-17 Haven. He sat on a low seat near a wide window, his hands resting on his knees. His injuries were mostly healed now, but the memory of pain still lived in his body. Lyra sat beside him, swinging her legs, humming softly. They are arguing again, she said. Elias smiled slightly. I guessed. For 3 days after the judgment, the court had argued nonstop. Elders disagreed. Generals warned of danger. Scholars questioned old beliefs. News from across the galaxy kept pouring in. Humans were being talked about differently now, not as weak, not as loud, but as something unexpected. Saelvora watched it all from above. She stood alone in the highest chamber of the palace, staring at a star map that showed hundreds of worlds. Reports appeared and vanished in the air before her eyes. Smaller species were asking for human mediators. Human ships were being allowed into systems once closed to them. Some of her own people were confused. Others were inspired. All because of one human who chose not to move. Power without control is dangerous, one elder had said. Control without compassion is empty, another replied. Saelvora closed her eyes. She had ruled for a long time. She had believed she understood strength. Now she was no longer certain. She turned and gave an order. Bring the human to me. Elias stood before the matriarch once more. This time there was no court, no guards in a circle, only Saelvora, Lyra, and him. You are afraid, Saelvora said. Elias nodded. Yes. You have no reason to be, she said. You are protected. I know, Elias replied. That doesn't always help. Lyra looked up at her mother. He tells the truth. Saelvora studied Elias carefully. My people believe I demanded you as punishment, she said. Others believe I demanded you as reward. Elias shifted. Neither feels right. Correct, she said. She stepped closer. I demanded you because my daughter lives, Saelvora said slowly, and because my people must understand why. Elias frowned. I don't think I'm special. That, the matriarch said, is exactly the problem. She turned to the star map and waved a hand. Images appeared, worlds damaged by war, stations abandoned after attacks, children standing alone among ruins. These are the results of thinking only in terms of survival, she said. We survive, but we do not live. She faced him again. My people are strong, she continued. But we have forgotten how to protect without ownership. Elias listened carefully. You did not save my daughter because she was mine, Sailvora said. You saved her because she was small. Yes, Elias said simply. The matriarch nodded. That is what I demanded, she said. Not your loyalty, not your service. She looked directly into his eyes. I demanded your example. The words settled into the room. Elias took a slow breath. I'm not a symbol. Sailvora tilted her head. Neither was I once. Lyra stepped forward and hugged Elias around the waist. Please stay, she said, just a little. Elias looked down at her, then back at Sailvora. I don't want power, he said. I don't want command. You will have neither, Sailvora replied. Then what do you want from me? The matriarch considered. I want you to speak, she said. When asked, I want you to stand as you did before, without armor, without threat. Elias laughed quietly. That sounds harder than fighting. It is, Sailvora agreed, so Elias stayed. He spoke to elders about fear and choice. He spoke to soldiers about children caught in war. He spoke to diplomats about trust that could not be forced. He never shouted. He never demanded. He only told the truth as he saw it. Slowly, things changed. New laws were written to protect civilians of all species. Mixed patrols were formed with humans included, not as fighters but as observers. Humanity's place in the galaxy shifted, not upward, but deeper. When the time came for Elias to leave, the palace gathered in silence. Sailvora stood tall. You may return to your people, she said. Elias nodded. I will, she paused. If ever you are called, she added, will you return? Elias thought of K-17, of crates and scanners, of quiet work. Then he thought of Lyra. Yes, he said. Lyra hugged him tightly. You didn't move, she said, so everything else did. Elias smiled. As his ship departed, Sailvora watched the stars. She understood now. True strength was not taking space. It was making room. And somewhere between the stars, humanity was no longer just surviving. It was being trusted.